Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, I'm going to start today's episode with a big question for you all. If I was going to introduce you to a data scientist, what kind of picture would you have in your head? What type of person would they be? What kind of skills would they possess? What would their interests be? I suspect that you will all have a very similar idea of who a typical data scientist is and what their strengths are, and equally what their weaknesses might be. But I want to challenge that perception today and talk about how in data analytics teams, they actually need to be more rounded than an old stereotype. Yes, we need someone who excels in STEM, but we also need diversity of thought and the ability to naturally interpret the results that they find and put them into a language that everyone throughout a business can understand, not just the data scientists. So today I've invited Peter Jackson, Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Exasol, who believes that in data teams there is room for all sorts of people, from technical masterminds to data storytellers. So wherever you are listening in the world right now, I'm going to ask you to buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to the UK so you can join me and Peter Jackson in conversation. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hello, Neil. Nice to meet you. I'm Peter Jackson, and I'm the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Exasol, the world's fastest analytics database. My role at Exasol is to bridge the gap between our product and the enterprise, our customers, to help our customers understand how they would get the best business outcomes and value from using our technology, but also to help us shape our product so it meets what the market is needing.
And I think I should also highlight there, because you're far too modest to bring it up, but you're also the author of 2 best-selling data analytics books. But before we delve a little bit deeper into your career, I'd love to find out more about your origin story. I mean, where did your passion for technology come from? And ultimately, what was it that put you on this path that you're on today?
Really, I mean, it's interesting you say passion for technology. It's actually a passion for data. Yeah. And part of my degree at Warwick University many, many years ago was heavily based on statistics, a lot around remote sensing and interpreting satellite imagery, which has a lot of statistics and data in it. So I've been fascinated by data for a long time. When I left university, I got into business analysis, and I was a business analyst. And that's a skill I use every day in my role, understanding what makes a business tick, how it runs, what's hitting the bottom line, what the frictions in the businesses are. And then in 1998, somebody said to me, this internet thing's going to be big. And I thought, well, what internet thing? And of course, there was no Google to go and look it up. But a little bit of research, I realized they were speaking the truth. And so I became a self-taught back-end engineer, taught myself SQL, various coding languages, and ended up being the COO of a software company. I then realized actually the value wasn't in the software. The value wasn't in the digital platform. The value was in the data within the platforms. And so I then branched out into a career of developing data strategies for organizations, helping them leverage the true value, from what we might say customer insights, for example, or operational efficiency that can be revealed by their data. And that's really what set me on the path. That's my origin.
Love it. Great story. And I think one of the things I always try and do on this podcast is try and bust a few myths and misconceptions. And we're all surrounded by stereotypes and look to pigeonhole certain industries or certain job roles. And in data teams, there is rooms for all sorts of people, from the technical masterminds to the data storytellers. And one of the things that stood out for me when I was doing a bit of research on you was I read that the best data scientist you ever had in one of your teams had a philosophy degree from Warwick University. He was creative, curious, and could turn insights into compelling arguments. So can you expand on that and the wide range of people you have encountered throughout the industry? Because for some people listening all over the world, they'll have this one type of person, but it's not like that, is it?
It's not. And that is a quote from me. I use it an awful lot because it's the truth. But I don't want to play down some of the absolutely amazing data scientists, what I would call the pure head-down data scientists. who've come from backgrounds in astrophysics, for example, who are super smart statisticians. They're important as well. But I think that packing out a team with the really bright statistical algorithmic minds doesn't give you a fully rounded team. And having the storytellers, having people who can interpret what the algorithm or the machine learning or the data is telling us and put that in a language that the business decision makers understand, that will change the way the business runs and the decisions it's making, is just as important. Now, if you can find the unicorn who's got both of those skills, you end up with something like this chap from Warwick University.
Love that. And the reason I brought that story up is because I read that how you believe that if we do concentrate too much on just STEM, then we won't have that diverse workforce, and you just have people that understand the numbers and the stats side of things, but they don't necessarily have the skills to articulate the meaning of that data and turn them into actionable insights for the business. And it often feels when you're in that environment that two sets of people are speaking an entirely different language. So do you think having an emphasis solely on STEM education is well-meaning but a little misguided?
I think it's incredibly well-meaning, and I think that it is important that we do have young people coming through our education system into the workforce, and more importantly, into their lives with data skills. And I think those data skills are, some of them are STEM skills without a doubt. You need science, technology, engineering, and maths to be a data scientist or a data engineer. Yeah. But we do need those other people, as we were referring to earlier, who can tell the stories, who can ask the so what, who can be curious, and people who can relate it to human behavior. In other words, if the data is telling us this, how is that going to change human behavior? Or how do we change human behavior to get the benefit from what the data is telling us? Now, this isn't just sort of a vague feeling I have about STEM and art subjects. It's bounded in actually a little bit of data understanding. We have a thing called the Dikwa pyramid in data, whereas if you imagine a pyramid sitting on this wide base at the bottom, you have a thick layer of data at the bottom. That's raw data. And data engineers and data scientists convert that raw data into the layer above, which is the information layer. And information is collected, curated, and contextualized data. Okay, we might have an algorithm, we might have a machine learning model. The next layer up is knowledge. And the one above that, right at the pinnacle, the apex of the triangle, is wisdom. Those top two layers are not necessarily data scientists. They are people with those storytelling skills, with perhaps the liberal arts backgrounds, the sociology, the sociology backgrounds, who can explain, who can narrate, who can build compelling stories and arguments that bring the bottom two layers together. So if you're going to get a properly mature journey from data to wisdom, you need people with STEM and arts. So I'm a big believer in having in data teams to complete STEAM, STEA and M.
Completely agree with you there. And I think diversity of thought and having that wide range of skills to create a well-rounded team is so important. But for any business leaders listening anywhere in the world, who should they be recruiting? Should they be focusing more on diverse skills and diverse ways of thinking? Because there's no one single answer, is there?
I think there isn't one single answer. I think the answer is yes, diversity, of course, is crucially important, because you need diversity of thought and approach. You need the people who challenge the status quo, people who come up with innovative new ideas. The way I like to think of it, to bring that diversity, is balance. You need balance. You need balance between the skills people have, whether it's out and out data engineering and data science, or arts and storytelling. You need balance in your diversity of people and thought. So balance is really important. And I think that if a CEO is expecting to leverage modern data science, now artificial intelligence and machine learning, don't think it will be built by data scientists alone. You'll need these other skills as well in a balanced team.
And just to bring to life everything that we're talking about here, how is this balance and approach helping Exasol with the flexibility and scalability that you need to make your long-term data strategy demands? Is there anything you can share around that?
Yeah, I think that it's shaping our thinking massively, because when we talk to clients about our technology, it's not just a technology answer. It's about the operating model and the people and the skills that you put around our technology to truly leverage its awesome power. In another triangle, you have a transformation triangle, which is all about people, processes, and technology. Exasol is the technology piece. You must not forget the people and the processes as to bring about true transformation.
And as a data analytics guy, a question I've got to ask, and I'm quite curious here, are there any trends in the kind of conversations you're having with your clients and customers right now? I mean, are businesses chasing and searching for solutions to the same problems? And if they are, how are you helping them right now?
I think I have a very fortunate to have a huge breadth across the market and seeing what's on. My co-author and I run the Chief Data Officer Summer School every year, and we've got 450 candidates on it at the moment from across the globe. All sorts of organizations of different size, different sectors, different verticals. And so I'm privileged to see what is going on and what those trends are. I think organizations are facing common problems. And I think that in the recent past, we've thought that buying the new kit, whether it's a data visualization tool or a machine learning platform, is going to give us the solution to the problems, the challenges, and the opportunities that we want to leverage. I think we're now seeing that people are understanding it's more complex than that. It's around things like data maturity and data literacy and how the technology fits into a data strategy and what the business outcomes are truly going to be and understanding how it will transform your business processes. So I think we're seeing a trend in people understanding it's a bigger picture than just technology. I think in the last 18 months as well, we're seeing this getting acceleration. Organizations who need access to data more quickly than they ever have before, and are wanting insights more quickly than they've ever wanted them before. So I think there's two big trends going on.
Excellent. And what's next for you? And indeed, Exasol. I appreciate it's probably not too much you can share, but is there anything you can about the road ahead and your big focus?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't touch on it at the beginning, but my career has actually been as a working chief data officer or a group director of data science when I was at Legal & General. And so to step across to a vendor into a technology was quite a big move. And my motivation with that was I want to see everybody approaching the data challenges and opportunities in the right way, with the right technology and the right approach to the problems they've got to solve. And I see the role of Exasol as we evolve and move forward is actually enabling people to leverage the data in their organizations to the full benefit and get insights.
And we started today's conversation talking about your origin story, but I'm going to put you on the spot here and also try and find out a little bit more about the soundtrack to your career. Is there a particular song or piece of music that has inspired you or just helps you get your head in the zone before going in a big meeting or going on stage? Is there a song and a story there that you could share with everyone?
Yes, there is. I haven't been asked that question for years, so it's making me chuckle slightly. There's two big songs, both because of my age, which you and I were talking about before we started, remembering 1986. I'm a huge fan of Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, having seen both of them live in my younger days. So the song remains the same from Led Zeppelin, making my skin come out in goosebumps now. That's a big soundtrack to my life. And Started Up from Rolling Stones. Two huge motivational tracks for me.
Fantastic. Absolutely love that. And for anyone listening that would like to find out more about the two books that you've written or contact your team, find out more information about Exasol, what's the best way of doing that?
The best way is either to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Peter Jackson at Exasol, or drop me an email, peter.jackson@exasol.com.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and share some insights with me today. I think we've busted quite a few myths and misconceptions along the way and covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. So I do urge people to reach out and contact you or your team. But more than anything, just a big thank you for joining me.
Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for chatting with me.
I just love Peter's story there and how one of the best data scientists that he ever encountered from one of his teams had a philosophy degree from Warwick University. He was creative, curious, and had this natural ability to turn insights into compelling arguments. But I'm curious, do we have that unicorn out there that Peter spoke about? Or do you know someone that is a genius in STEM, understands the numbers, understands the stats, but also has the skill to articulate the meaning of that data, turn them into actionable insights for the business? All through the art of storytelling. That person that has it all. I'd love to get that person onto this podcast. So if they do exist, please send them my way. But I do suspect that the reality is that business leaders should be looking to recruit people with an arts background, to create narratives from data and storytelling. And combining a mix of people with different skills and abilities, diversity of thought, only makes translation of data even more powerful. That's where the magic happens. But I will get off my soapbox now and invite you to share your insights, experiences, expertise, whatever it may be, or even if you've got a question or want to share a story about someone that you've encountered that today's episode reminded you of. Whatever it is, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram @NeilCHughes, and my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. But it's time for me to go now, so a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.